Hey, what's up, everybody? You tuned in to another episode of Strategic Moves. I'm your host, Kenn Dowell. This is a place where we bring art, culture, politics, and business all together, and we do it every Sunday right here on this channel. But when I'm not shooting this podcast, I am the owner of Strategic Resources Consulting and the African American Men's Action Network. We call it AMEN. We specialize in political campaigns, government relations, and public relations. We've been doing it in this city and this state for over 25 years. Met some interesting people along the way, and we want to make your next move a strategic move. And this program gives me an opportunity to do just that. Give me a chance to bring on some of the people we met. We talk about some of our experiences, and hopefully it's something that you can get out of it to help you in your life, your business, or your personal life. But if that sounds like something you'd be interested in, all I need you to do is hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell as well, so that you would know the next time one of these programs is coming out. So with that being the case, and we finally made it through that daggone intro, we're going to get started. So before I get started, though, I have to give a shout out to the best podcast producer in the business here in Cleveland, none other than DJ Truth. How you doing out there, sir?
I am good, man. How's your day today?
I don't know. We're going to figure it out, man. You know what? I bought this guest today is coming on to talk about ghetto therapy. That's what it's all about, people. Ghetto therapy. And maybe that's what's wrong with me. I think he done got in my head because I cannot get this stuff right. I was doing just good all day. Now I was trying to get down, and I'm sitting there stumbling over my words. Can't get my act together, man.
You need a ghetto therapist?
I think so. We're going to see what's going on. I think I might need some. What's going on with you, man?
Everything's good, man. Just a little mellow Friday. I'm happy it's Friday, but it don't seem like a Friday for some reason.
No, it don't, but I'm kind of glad it is, though.
It seemed like a Thursday, and I'm still waiting for Friday.
You must be busy all weekend.
Yeah, you know how you just be losing days. Thank God it's Friday.
All right. So what we want to do is we're going to get ready to introduce our guest to the show today and get going. And before we get going, hold on one second. We're going to pause. Latif, we don't have a camera on. And now it is. Bingo. All right. So our guest today is somebody that I've been following on the gram and been looking through and staying up all nights of the night, can't sleep, and looking at various different things that's going on. And I found this gentleman to be very interesting. And that's what I say. Our show is about bringing on people that we find very interesting people doing interesting things. And what he's doing is something I found interesting. He calls it ghetto therapy. And when I first looked at it, I believe, I'm gonna tell you what I know, and he'll let me know if I was right. When I first saw it, it looked like he was doing an event in public housing. It looked like, and they were providing food and things like that for people to come out, and people came out. And when they came out, they gave them opportunity to speak and talk about some of the things. And they did a little therapy, like for the people in the community, and it actually grew. And from there, I watched it grow and grew. And he actually now has been able to get some support from Cleveland Clinic. And other people have been watching him just like me. And Cleveland Clinic stepped up and gave him a place to actually do it. And I think they wanted the sponsors in that. And he's going to tell us a lot more about ghetto therapy. Without further ado, everybody, let's welcome Mr. Walter Patton to our program. Excellent. Hey, brother, thanks for coming out, man. We really appreciate you taking your time to come out and speak with us and talk with us about it. Tell me a little bit about you, Mr. Patton. Where are you from? You're from Cleveland. You grew up here. What neighborhood? You know how we are. Everybody in Cleveland want to know where you're from. So where you from, man?
Yeah, no, so it's not no secret. I'm from Cleveland, Ohio, of course. I'm from the central community, as we call the Down the Way projects over on Alfway.
Okay.
So I'm a fourth generation of Alfway. Started with my great-grandmother.
My
grandmother, my mother, now it's me. So I'm the fourth generation of the Alfway community in the central community.
Wow. So you was fourth generation down in Alfway.
Yeah, public housing, yep.
So what is it about public housing that you believe that kept you down there?
First of all, it was financial. When you born into debt, you know what I'm saying? So like my family, we was generations and generations of poverty. So that was the first thing, you know what I'm saying? So financial stability is the reason why we was down there that long. But then also it just became, again, a fourth generation family. You know what I'm saying? The family vibe and the family feel kept me down there.
Kept you down there. So let's talk about that growing up. So you went to all the high schools and elementary schools around in that area. How was it growing up in that area back then?
It was good, man. I went to Alfred A. Bennett, which was my elementary. Then I went to Central. Then I went to East Tech. But it was good. Like I said, family vibes when I was young.
Mm-hmm.
At age, I think I moved down there at about 5 or 6 years old. We came from Garden Valley.
Okay.
So when we came from Garden Valley, we moved to Scoville, which we called the compound.
Mm.
My grandmother stayed there, which my mother stayed with my grandmother at the time.
Mm-hmm.
The compound of Scoville was a real crack infested.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was like real popular in the 80s. So I come up in like the 90s.
Okay.
I was born in 87. So I was a kid in the 90s, and I seen a lot of the crack things and a lot of the activities that was going on inside of there. But overall, besides the crack dealing and the crack smoking, it was great. Like it was a family vibe. Everybody played together. We all went to the same schools and played for the same sports teams.
How long did it, and I imagine they're still rebuilding down there in that area and trying to get things together. How long has it, how has it changed since back then growing up to it is right now?
So back then, like I said, it was like a big family. Everybody knew each other. We stayed out all night, played together. It wasn't no fights, man. It wasn't until I got about like 15 or 16 years old when, you know, it really changed for the worse. And that's when you seen a lot of the homicides, a lot of the drug abuse, the alcohol abuse. You seen like people out there on PCP running around in front of you as kids. And it was very traumatizing. But it started off as good, but now it's more like traumatic.
So what did you do after high school?
So at the high school, to be honest, man, I had a kid at 17 years old, which was my 11th grade year. I got into the streets. Once I had a kid, it wasn't about school no more for me. It was about providing.
Okay.
And I just went out and I met this guy and I started selling drugs at that time. And I was selling drugs a lot and running the streets, fighting the other neighborhoods, and then eventually catching different cases, which led me to prison.
Oh, so you did go to prison?
Yeah, I went. Yeah.
How long you served?
I did 18 months. Okay. I did 18 months for carrying a concealed weapon and drug trafficking.
Okay. And when was that?
This was in 2000. I caught the cases in 2009. I ended up doing time in 2011. I went on a run for 2.5 years. Yeah. I was like a fugitive on the run for 2.5.
Wow. Wow. And so you ended up doing your time, got out. And then what? You say you decided I want to work. I went back hustling, or you say what was the deal?
So the whole time I spent in prison was just really about learning who I was, right?
Okay.
Again, because I was just really like a product of my environment, just trying to adapt for real, like just trying to survive. But when I went to prison, I got an opportunity to like really learn myself, work out, read, and a lot of the things that a lot of the people in prison do is when you really tap in and you find who yourself is. So I was reading a lot, working out a lot. But what happened was I started listening to, I think it was like a Wale CD, Wale and J. Cole. I got those CDs sent in to me. And they was like real poetic. So I started writing poetry. And then I was already into it, but I was just like, they just inspired me more than I had more time to do it. So I started writing poetry. And then I ended up starting this poetry circle. So it's a poetry circle, and we called it Poetry and Tea. And it was guys from Detroit, Toledo, New Jersey, Chicago. All of those guys be locked inside of Ohio prisons because they catch cases in Ohio. And this circle was very diverse. And what happened was we was just all sitting around doing poetry, drinking tea. And that was like really like when I decided, like, when I come home, I think this could work, because it was guys that had life inside of prison. Those guys are tough. Right. They ain't never coming home. So for them to embrace me and listen to me and tell me, like, Walt, when you go home, you need to continue to do this because you can possibly change your community. You don't want to come back in here with us for life because we ain't never going home. So I took their advice and I went home and I stood on it. And it wasn't always good in the beginning for me, though. I'm saying it was very tough because making that transition from the streets into doing something conscious and powerful and just really trying to do something, what I would say, constructive, it was difficult in the projects. Yeah. So when you think you made your breakthrough of finally saying, okay, because like you said, it's hard. You come out of prison and you got that mindset of, hey, I ain't going back. I need to really do it. But man, it's hard because the opportunities are not there for you and all the other things and the reputations and the people look at you in certain ways. So how was you battling through that? When I first got into the project, when I first got out of prison and back to the projects, it was like me making music. So I transitioned from the poetry part and I started putting it on beats. So I started trying to cater to the guys in the projects and making music about the things that we was doing in the hood, the drugs, the women, the girls, all of that. But I'm like, this is not really who I am. So it was like me making that music was trying to get the guys from my neighborhood to gravitate to what I really wanted to do. And it worked for a while, but once attention started to come my way, I started losing a lot of different friends from that because they like, we not really trying to do nothing positive right now. We doing something else. We selling drugs. We going out of town. We doing this. So I lost a lot of friends behind that, and it was rough. It was rough turning positive, coming from a negative environment, trying to be this only positive person. It was very tough.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought it might have been the other way, but you say some of your cats, they was like, hey, I'm staying what I'm doing, man. I like your music, but hey, I'm doing what I do.
Yeah, because once you start speaking against negativity is when the problem comes, right? So it's like a tug of war in those projects because you got young guys who want to do something positive for real, but then the majority and their role models are all doing negative. So you got the older guys who's pulling these younger guys, come and get these guns, come and get these drugs. And then you got me, one person sitting here, hey, come over here and do this music. Come over here and let's do something positive and constructive. Let's go to therapy. Let's do this and that. And there's ain't no money in this. These guys are going out of town, coming back with cars, jewelry, and it was tough. They was like, get out the way. You want some police stuff. I go like talking too much and you're doing too much positive stuff. So that was the thing for me.
And that's wild because if you're not from that type of environment, you wouldn't understand that. And that's neighborhoods and you could say drug dealing and everything just on a different level. Because I grew up in Glenville, 105, St. Clair area, but it was tough. Oh, thank you, Lateef. That's my Glenville. It's tough, but it wasn't as condensed as that. Like when you're living in your area, like you say, it's condensed is in there. So you're in the center of that saying, hey, we need to stop. And there's a lot more around in the community. It's broad out, it's really wide open and it's not as condensed. So when did you get to the ghetto therapy portion of it? What made you say, you know what, maybe we need to talk to them in that type of?
I would say like in 2018. So in 2017, I was working at the space called Sodexo at the time, which is called Evergreen now. Okay. It's a laundry facility for Cleveland Clinic. Okay. So I was there just making ends meet. So I say like in 2018, I met this lady named Kim Foreman. Okay. And Kim Foreman is like the executive director, CEO of Lead Safe Cleveland and Environmental Health Watch.
Yeah, I about to say I heard that name before. Okay, yeah, exactly.
So at this time, she wasn't that though. Okay. She was doing a lot of work in community, but she had this program that she wanted to run, and it was like a hip hop program. Okay. So she had funding to work inside the central community in the projects, but she didn't have a space or she didn't have the kids. So so somehow this lady named Erica Chambers ended up connecting me and Kim Foreman, and I had the space. Which now is our councilman. I've seen him on your show before, Councilman Richard Starr. He provided the space at the time. He was the director at the King Kennedy Boys and Girls Club. Okay. So he like, Walt, you can bring them here. So from there, I brought the kids over from Alfway. Then they had the kids in King Kennedy. So then when me and her started working together, I had the kids and I had the space and she had the funding. And then it just took off from there. In 2018 is when I started doing like open mics, poetry open mics. Okay. And we was doing them at the WOVU radio station. It was like a small area. Right. And it was like once a month. It probably would be about 10 or 15 people coming. So we did it up until 2020, or 2019, because the pandemic hit in 2020. Right before the pandemic hit, I had transitioned from WOVU to the Eldorado's Barbershop. Okay. And the Eldorado's Barbershop owner got murdered and they had to close it down. Right when I was getting ready to get ghetto therapy going again, it got closed down and then the pandemic hit. So once the pandemic hit, it shut down. Then 2021, I got an opportunity to open up again in a space on East 55th in the License Bureau Plaza. And that's when really ghetto therapy started to go, because even before then, in 2018 up until 2020, I didn't have one licensed therapist. I just called it ghetto therapy because we was in the projects and I knew for a fact what we was doing was still therapeutic.
So let's stay on that for a minute, okay? Because everybody don't know. For the audience that's listening, tell them, what is ghetto therapy?
So ghetto therapy is the free and open to the public therapy service that I was created in 2018. And we provide all forms of therapy, whether it's Reiki, that focus on your body chakras, like your heart, your root chakra. We provide meditation, yoga, art, massage therapy. And yeah, those are all the forms of therapy that you could think of, mental health counseling. We provide all of those in one space, and it's all for free for all residents in the city of Cleveland. We get about 40 to 50 residents a week.
And so when you say that, a person just give us a typical walkthrough of when you go to your program and what to expect.
So the first Wednesday of every week of every month is men's night. The second Wednesday is teens night. The third Wednesday is women's night. And the fourth Wednesday is facilitated by a licensed counselor named Maisha Watkins. She graduated from Harvard. And
let's break them all down. Men's night, what's happening on men's night?
So men's night is really just facilitated and predominantly men, but we also allow women to come. So it's like we create that balance to create solutions. Because a lot of the times when we have men and women nights, it's just strictly women or strictly men. But I will allow men and women to come to both nights. We can create that balance and create those solutions. So whatever it is, whether it's a male politician, a male therapist, a male poet, that's who's dominating that night. Same for women. It's just predominantly women and women topics. For teens night, it's just teens. Like we invite different people that run different youth programs all over the city of Cleveland to promote and advocate for their program and give those resources to the teens that come to Ghetto Therapy. For Maisha's night, she just facilitates and she go real in depth to get real personal and intimate. She talks a lot about like affirmation. She break down like the meaning of your name. Like we was just doing a lot of different things. She talks about like, introducing yourself before your past traumas, and she just get real personal. So Ghetto Therapy, each session is different, but it's like a theme for each one. But yeah.
So when you said that, let's go into the men's night. What are some of the most topics talked about on men's nights? What do you think most of the brothers talk most about in this Ghetto Therapy?
So the brothers mainly talk about childhood trauma, like how they grew up, going to prison. A lot of the times those conversations turn into prison conversations with men. And having a safe space for men, because they say we don't have many safe spaces for men as they have for women. So it's just really childhood traumas in prison a lot of the times. And we get a lot of male poets that come. So we express ourselves through poetry. We talk a lot about our childhood trauma, and we talk a lot about prison inside of the men. But the thing is about that, those guys that have been in prison are now connecting with licensed therapists. That's their Black male therapists that come.
So at this event, there are licensed therapists there as well.
Yeah, we got about 4 or 5. We got Jerome Cash, which is a male. He's a licensed professional therapist. We got Marquise Medley, which is a Reiki practitioner.
And what is, for my audience who don't know what Reiki is, what is Reiki?
So Reiki is a form of therapy that focuses on your body chakras, like a massage therapy as well, because it touches on your throat, your root chakras. It's 7 different forms of chakras, and your root chakras is like in your spinal cord and your vertebrae. So for instance, if you're having problems with your spinal cord and your vertebrae, it's possibly you need some work done on your root chakra. So it's really just focusing on your body chakras. And again, it's 7 of them. So it's like a massage therapy thing where they touch each and every last one of your chakras. I don't know all 7 chakras by heart, but the ones that come off the top is the throat chakra, the heart chakra, and the root chakra. Now the throat chakra is blue.
Okay.
The heart chakra is green, and the root chakra is red. So a lot of times when you see me wearing red, I'm focused on the root problems and the root causes, because the root chakra means the foundation and safety.
Okay.
So when you see me wearing red, I'm just really tapped into my root chakra and talking about foundation and safety. So that's Reiki that focuses on your body chakras.
Interesting. And so when you come there, someone actually take you through that process of...
Got 2 of them. So Shannon Yarbrough was the first ever licensed therapist to come through Ghetto Therapy, because when I first started, every therapist I was on a board of St. Vincent Charity. I was on the residence board. So I sent out an email. I said, hey, we looking for licensed therapists to come down to the projects at 6 o'clock. When I say every therapist said, we're not coming to those projects after 6 o'clock, because at this time I was under a lot of pressure, because they was telling me if I kept using the word therapy with no therapist, I could be sanctioned. So at this time, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna make it happen. And just so happened, this one lady named Shannon Yarbrough reached out, hey, I live in the community. I'll love to come. And she was a Reiki practitioner and a sound bowl specialist.
Okay.
So she started coming, introducing us to sound bowl, Reiki. At this time, I had never heard of any of this. Coming from the projects, we don't know this. We smoke weed, drink liquor.
Right.
That's our coping mechanism.
Right.
The majority of us.
And
when she introduced us to this, it was just amazing. So that's been my favorite form of Reiki, of therapy. A lot of the times we think therapy is just somebody sitting in front of you, jotting notes, going back, gossiping, and talking about you. But it's several forms of therapy.
So what are some of the forms?
As I mentioned, Reiki, sound therapy, which you get therapy through sounds, mental health counseling, which is the regular back and forth. You got art therapy, that you get to paint, you do different things, paint masses and paint whatever you feel.
That's why you say the poetry is a form of therapy, because they're expressing themselves in that. And even if they're expressing themselves, the people who hear it is a form of therapy, because they may have said something that you needed, right?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Massage therapy. I just had a massage therapy session yesterday. And those are great sessions too, because it's not really, when you think of massage, it's like rubbing on your shoulders and feel good. But in massage therapy, the one that we have, her name is Jacqueline Morris. She does a lot of work on your lymph nodes. She does a lot of work like on your joints. And it's very like relieving, man. It's very stress relieving. I had never had a massage like that, because it wasn't like pleasure. It was like really therapy. And
interesting.
My neck was very stiff. I started moving my neck better. So yeah, man, therapy has been amazing for me personally. And that's why I started it, because I needed it the most.
And out of that, you had, out of the men's group, give me a situation where you saw it and you was like, I'm glad this is working. When you got to that moment where you just did that, you exhaled and was like, man, I know this.
I'll tell you one that I can remember off the top of the head, because again, it's been 3 years straight. And every week, we only missed 3 weeks in 3 years. So it's like so many sessions that I hardly remember all of them. But one that come out to me in particular was, this wasn't even men's night. It was like the week before men's night. So we do, again, I named the women's night, the teens nights, the men's nights, and my Haitian nights. So healing is universal. And one thing we all got in common is healing. That's what all I talk about. It's the healing. So I created and started an LGBTQ night. So it was like maybe like once a quarter. So we'll replace a women's night or we'll replace a men's night that quarter. Man, I was gone. I had left. And one of my partners at the time had explained to them, like, this men's night coming up, we're going to replace it for LGBTQ night. And one of the guys who had been coming for a year straight, who barely ever missed, flipped out. And he was like, how y'all going to take away our night for He said, I don't want to say that. I know. He said some stuff. Right. He said some terms. And they just didn't agree with him, man. And this went on for weeks because I had to tell him. I said, hey, bro, listen, I understand how you feel. And you don't want to accept it. But at the end of the day, we're here for one reason and one reason only, and that's to heal. So I had to be that person in the middle and hash this conversation out for over the next 2 weeks because I had to have him apologize to them because you don't disrespect people regardless of what they is or what their sexuality may be. These are still people who need healing services. And I had to provide that. That men's night, man, it was like, didn't no guys show up. It was just straight LGBTQ. Probably was about the lowest in numbers I ever had with sessions. Probably was like 14 people. And it was all LGBTQ community. And I sat through the entire session because I want to know what their problems are. They're humans too, right? I just remember the uproar. I lost about 3 to 4 men, faithful men to that night of me doing that. And I got to stand on that because at the end of the day, again, it don't matter your sexuality. I'm here to provide healing services throughout the entire city of Cleveland, regardless of what you're going through.
That's deep, man. And that's going to be a hard one for you to have to deal with because the way times are changing and everything is going on now, that's going to be a hard balance. So let's talk about the women.
Now the women nights is the most. Now the fellas is picking up. Now the fellas we may get 20 to 30 men. But women nights, ghetto therapy was built off the back of women.
Well, let's go back to the men because men are funny.
Yeah,
we funny acting people. I know us. Do you think that you got stigma? Because you know us. When that kind of stuff goes out, they'd be like, oh, I ain't going back. Yeah. You think that hurt?
So I'm not going to say that because I promote it just like every week I put all of them on there, whatever night it is. So I'm not going to say that, but I do say that I can say I lost about 3 people to that night. And it's okay, but like the men's nights have got better. Again, we used to have 10 or 15, maybe 20 men. Now we get 30 to 40 men.
Oh, okay. All right. So you done got much better.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. That's fine. Because I was about to say, not to deter it, but to figure out, I just want to make sure we continue to outreach to them. That's all. I know that we'll be fickle and be like, that's it. We ain't going. And if things go, we'll be like, screw it. But you got to continue to try to just break them. And I'm glad to see that you got them to come back and because they need it. And men, we all need it. And that's good. I just didn't want to see it break off like that. Excellent. All right. So you're back to 30, 40 men. And that's good for a night of having just regular guys right off the street or people who know about it just come in. That's huge. Yeah. That's huge.
And then this is the year where around the time where there's a lot of seasonal depression come on, right? In the winter. Where a lot of people don't go outside. It's cold. It's snowing. Okay. So they come to ghetto therapy. In the summertime, it can decline the number. You may get 15, 20 people. But in the winter,
and that's still good, man.
In the wintertime, man, we get 60, 70. The most we had at Cleveland Clinic was 101 residents.
Really?
Therapy session. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Around this time, we do great numbers.
Okay. All right, let's get into the sisters and the ladies, man. What the ladies, what did they griping other than us? What else they talking?
Oh, man, you better get on our backs. They get on our backs every session. But the women, man, they are very balanced, man. They do a lot of good things. They do a lot of poetry. And the nonprofit field is predominantly women. You know what I'm saying? In the space that I'm in when it comes to the healing services. Okay. So every session, you may have 30, 40 women come. Easy. And they love to talk. You know, caterer. I got a caterer by the name of Holly Davenport that runs That Brown Girl Spice Catering. She's a very strong individual. She just don't cook. She participates inside of, you know what I'm saying, the sessions. She bring her people, and man, it's just word of mouth, and the women are coming, and they're really there for the healing services, and they bring men. So,
do she cooks at all your sessions?
Yeah.
Really?
She ain't missed a date, and it's been like a year.
What y'all eating, man?
And we eating everything, man. We eat a lot of good food. So she cooked. Now she add vegan options. Like the last 6 months, she been adding vegan options. Okay. At first, it was like baked chicken, getty, the regular stuff. You know what I'm saying? But then as more vegans and people started coming into the space, and then we're using ghetto therapy. So we want to use healthy food.
Mind, body, and soul.
She started cooking vegan food and having vegan options.
Excellent. I told him when I remember when it first happened, I know y'all were cooking food to get folks in there, because anytime you're giving away food, people are going to come. They're going to come. And if it's good food, they definitely going to come. So you say she cooks and she's part of the session. She plays a role in there too, huh?
Yeah, sometimes, she didn't participate, or if she got to go, then she'll come in, drop the food off, and leave. But 90% of the time, she participates. And
so women, other than the guys, you say balance. What you mean by balance?
They just like when I say balance, I probably meant to say like backbone of the session.
Okay,
because they're there, like they're the root, like they. Like without the women, a lot of the fellas probably wouldn't have came, because a lot of those women was bringing their men. Hey, it's licensed therapists here. You need to talk to somebody. Come on, they bringing their brothers, their uncles, their boyfriends.
I see what you're saying. So
they've just been very.
They're not just even acting themselves. They active in the whole process.
They promoting, advocating. They're the ones that create my flyers.
Okay,
they like, well, let's go do this.
Okay. And in their sections, when you hear, is there more physical therapy, mental therapy they looking for, or what is it you think?
It's more mental.
Yeah,
it's more mental. They always want to talk. They always talking about guys, the fellas. You know what I'm saying? Relationship problems. That's a lot of the things, a lot of the conversations that go on in the women's is relationship problems.
What's the biggest relationship problem you keep hearing? Where you sitting there like, oh, here's that one again.
Missing fathers.
Missing fathers.
Not being in that household, raising the young men to their standards. Knowing that they don't, a lot of the time, they don't even know what a man is, because they never even had a father in their life themselves. The baby father's not present, so they really raising a man based off the hatred that they have for men, based off their baby father not being there or their father not being there. And this is what happens in these spaces a lot. You know what I'm saying? And they find themselves being angry at men, but they don't know that they're angry at men until they sit in the therapy session and say, oh, I'm really angry. And then therapy does it for them. So now they're able to come back down. And a lot of them was bringing their baby fathers to come.
Really?
Those guys stopped coming. They don't want to. Men are just difficult to work with, man. We got a good group, but like adding new men is tough. It's like the same group of fellas that's coming. And those who are meant to be there are going to be there. But like we want to reach all the men. But
so do that portion of that ever comes up in the men's meeting about the absent fathers and that, or it's just taboo, it just don't be talked about?
So do what? Like the absent fathers come up in the session?
Yeah, just like the women. I know they're there and they're saying the father's not around and they're this and that. At the men's meeting, do they talk about the fact that they know they're not around and maybe coming up with reasons why they're not around and trying to heal to get better relations with their kids? Or
the women is not going to say why the men not around all the time. They're not going to say that it's ever their fault. You know what I'm saying? A lot of the times it's just all the fellas' fault. So that's the thing. We try to get it out of them. Like, what's both sides of the story? That's
why I guess where I'm at. And I ain't want to say that, but yeah. So my point is, I know they're going to say it's our fault, right? Yeah. So if it's our fault, do the men go in their meeting? Are they really talking about their problems with the women?
So the thing about the men, the men are very logic, right? And the women are very emotional. So when you got the men inside the women's sessions, the men are really quiet and listening and want to know how to get better. But when the women are inside of the men's sessions, it's, hey, let me speak. Let me talk. And I can speak until the end of the session. Let the brothers go. So the women, they on edge, man, and they very emotional. But the fellas that do come, the consistent crowd that we do have, they are very willing to learn. And all of them do great things in community. So this family that we built amongst the men, 20, 30 men, they all do great things inside the community. Councilman Richard Starr, he comes a lot. You know what I'm saying? So he's doing great things inside the community. And we got other brothers that's doing great things, that work in politics, that work in community, got their own nonprofits. This the family that we're building. So these brothers that's in ghetto therapy are really doing great work in community. So they're willing to listen to the women. And the women that we have, they are not like that. But again, remind you, we get new women coming every week. So the new women who come in is not really used to the family vibe that we created. They off the ledge, like, hey, what's going on? They need to stop. We need to do this. It's not until they come to a session every week that they see that we building a family.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And I can see that. I can really see how you're doing that. All right, let's get to them teens, man. What's that all about? And then when you say teens, what's that age bracket usually?
So the teens, like we allow all kids, first of all. If you got a 5-year-old, you can bring them. You just got to make sure you watch it. But majority of our teens be like from 14 to 18.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? And those are really a good group of kids. A lot of them go to high school, doing good work at high school. Yeah, so our teens are really good. Teens Nights is good. We don't really have a lot of the bad crowd. I got a couple young guys that come that's from my projects. And they've been in jail, had to go to ghetto therapy for probation.
Oh, they gotta come.
Yeah, they gotta come.
Okay.
So I got them with me all the time. You know what I'm saying? 2 or 3 of them. And I tell you, one night, it was a ghetto therapy, 2 nights. It was ghetto therapy every Wednesday. I got 2 guys that come to ghetto therapy. One Wednesday, one of my young guys didn't come. And he's supposed to came. He didn't come. I ended up getting a call from his mother. He got locked up. He didn't come to ghetto therapy this Wednesday. His best friend, who wanted to come to ghetto therapy with him, but never did because he felt like it wasn't a cool thing to do, he got killed on the night of ghetto therapy.
Wow.
Yeah, man. And it was like while we was doing ghetto therapy, and the licensed counselor told me, like, I just got a ring on my phone that one of those kids got killed in the projects. And I had no idea it was him. And it was him. You know what I'm saying? And then the other kid, that's 2 out of 3. The third one ended up going to jail, catching the gun case on the night of ghetto therapy. So 3 Wednesdays, 3 kids who all could have been in ghetto therapy for those 2 hours, all got in trouble at ghetto therapy time.
Wow.
In between 6 and 8.
Wow.
So yeah, teen nights is like that, man. Once you become a part of teen night and you know that there's something positive that you could be doing once a week, I know it's not the solution to all, but for 2 hours out that day, you could possibly be doing something great and staying out of trouble. And they all got penalized for doing something negative at that time.
So how many teens you usually get there?
So we get anywhere from 15 to 20 teens consistently. But the night that we got 101 residents, that was teens night. We have 72 teens.
And they eat and everything else, just like everything else at those meetings also. So do the teens, do they do a lot of talking? Do they express, what's the biggest issue that the teens are having?
So the teens don't really do a lot of talking. So now the parents are there. So the teens, they talk when the parents talk. And it's, oh, well, I disagree with that. So you get a lot of parent and teen disagreement. So now you get an opportunity to say, hey, this is what we disagree on in the house. Now, maybe you can take that and work on at home now because you know your kid don't agree with you with that. So the teens, all the teens really want is for their parents to listen. They don't want to keep hearing, oh, you just a kid. You don't know what you're talking about. The teens are tired of that. They say, hey, I watched you my entire life. You've been smoking, you've been drinking, you've been bringing different men in the household, you're bringing different women in the household, and it's not making me any better. So this is what we have coming out of teens night. Is
really?
Yeah, these teens are really voicing how they feel about their parents or inside of the school system. So it's really about household and school systems with the teens.
Yeah, and we'd like you to get more of them in there. I know, man, I'd like you to get more of those guys in there, but that's the hardest one to get, I imagine, right?
It's tough, man.
Do they have to have their parents' permission to come? Anybody? No, they can just come, right?
Yeah, they can come. The parents just be so engaged with ghetto therapy in general, so they want to come with their kids. That's what it be. But yeah, man. You think
you'll get more teens if you didn't have no parents there?
I heard that a lot. I even had one kid say that he didn't want the parents in there. You know what I'm saying? So we've been thinking about that as well. But that same kid hasn't been back since. So he
was a brother too, right? I thought you fickle. It's only you only get one shot with us. No. You know that. You've been a young guy. We only give you one shot, man. That's it. Because you got too many other things coming at you, man, and you're trying to figure out what's the right thing. And it's too much of the wrong junk that's going on that one time of the right thing just don't, it's the right thing to do, but it's just too much other, like you say, the cars, the money, everything else. And it's just hard.
That's environment for us, right? Yeah. That's environment for teens, the cars, the clothes, the money. That was environment for me. But it's CMSD, man. CMSD play a big role in the reason why the teens move how they move, because they're not educated on how to create change in their environment.
Let's talk about that.
You get what I'm saying?
Go into some detail on that.
So I'll go into that. So when I was the events coordinator at Lead Safe Cleveland, I recently resigned to do ghetto therapy full time. But what I would do is I would go to different schools and I would talk public works administration, structured racism, and redlining. So I would talk about that. And out of 4 high schools I went to, which was John Adams, Ted Ginn, Legacy, and Central Catholic, all of those schools are affected by public works administration and redlining. Very terrible communities when you think of it, from grocery stores to hospitals to school system. So when I went in there and I asked them about structured racism and did they know about redlining and the public works administration, out of those 4 schools, it was 300 students combined. Only 1 student said they knew something small about it. And these are the areas that's most affected by these legislations. So I did that same presentation at Laurel High School, which is a high school in Shaker Heights. Out of 15 students in that class, 8 of them knew public works administration almost better than me.
Wow.
And they were creating solar panels.
Wow.
But in CMSD, we told to go to ROTC and go to the Air Force. We told to go to the Navy. We told to go to the Army. But these kids are being educated in Shaker Heights on how to create change in our environment by creating solar panels. CMSD, we don't know change. I never heard of a nonprofit. I never heard of environmental justice until I turned 30.
Wow.
So Can you imagine in CMSD, if we were taught environmental justice, if we were taught how to run nonprofits through high school, a lot of us wouldn't go to college.
That's correct.
Because right out of high school, you already got a nonprofit at 18 years old. You got a 501c3. You done created a nonprofit and changed your own environment. You ain't got to go back and pay student loans. You would just totally make a nonprofit and change your environment. But we don't get taught that. So we are taught to be the social determinants of health, while the kids in suburban schools and private schools are taught how to create things around our social determinants of health. And this is what I found out, because by me being in those 4 schools in CMSD and at one suburban school, they was getting taught on how to make money and make profit off of our social determinants of health, off of our trauma. And we are just taught to be the trauma.
Yeah, we're the statistic.
We the statistic. We the profit.
Right.
We the lick.
Right.
So if we don't have these social determinants of health, if we don't have diabetes, cancer, and heart diseases, they don't get paid. They don't get paid. So this is what I found out by experience. This is not just an emotion thing. When I went to these schools, I said, don't no kid in this high school know anything about public works administration or these laws and legislations that was created to keep us in poverty. They don't even know about it. These suburban schools, were the one I did a presentation at, they knew all about it.
Yeah, and you were right about that. I got a thing that I work on. I call it community as a service, where I believe that the community should be selling that statistic to nonprofit and organization. And with that, we should be telling them as a community what services they should be providing for us. And I think it's called community as a service, where, again, where the community is, like you say, the statistic. We the model, we're everything. The organizations come in and they just use that to create what they want. It should be the other way around.
That's it.
And I'm a firm believer in that.
I created Ghetto Therapy just based off
basically what you did. Exactly what you did.
Just researching my environment. So I knew that
exactly.
In 2018, we had a high infant mortality rate at 22%. And I knew that the residents in Lyndhurst, it's a study in Place Matters, Cuyahoga, that the residents in Lyndhurst live 24 years longer than the residents in Central and Huff.
Wow.
Based off of our environment. So I knew we had a high infant mortality rate. Then I knew we had a food desert, which I never even heard or knew what a food desert was. We got that in 2019. Then I knew that we closed down one of our high schools, had 8 prison-based facilities within 5 minutes away from each other, surrounding this one high school. And then I lost 3 friends to diabetes, hypertension, and heart disease in 2020. And I just started doing the research, and I said, what could I do to combat some of these issues and just be one solution? And that's when I thought about creating a therapy service, you know what I'm saying, and providing. So we feed about 40 to 50 people for free every week. And that's like a part of the food desert part. So I'm trying to address small issues inside of this one session. Then I know that for a fact that in majority of the homes in the city of Cleveland that was built before 1978 have lead inside of them. And that causes ADHD, heart disease, kidney disease, and that taps into the mental. So lead poison attacks your brain. So I created a therapy service to address that issue. But we don't know how to create solutions if we don't know the issues. So we're not taught environmental justice. We're not taught about lead poison, infant mortality, or food deserts in high school or CMSD.
Not at all.
So we don't know how to create our own solutions. And that's all I'm saying.
Do you think the criminal element is really higher than the element of people trying to do what you're doing? I remember what you said when I'm going back to that, when you said you were really trying to do your thing and your boys told you, no, we're not. Do you really think that the criminal element out here is really will fight against you if you really was trying to really get that thing going like you wanted?
I would say that the criminal element is promoted more than what I do.
Okay.
It's pushed to the forefront from mainstream media.
Okay.
If you go on social media, your timeline is full of negativity. You got the Cleveland Remembrance page. But on the Cleveland Remembrance page, you will never see a video of ghetto therapy. So they don't show us combating these negative issues. They only show the negative issues. So I would say that it's strategically done. I would say that the mainstream media plays a big part in the advocacy of negative and destruction. So I would say that from the eye, from what we could see, it's bigger than what I'm doing.
Okay.
But it's only because that's strategic. Just like our environments are strategically put the way they are due to legislations. So it's all a government thing. It's all the top half. And people will say all the time, hey, stop blaming the government, stop saying that. But this is really laws and legislations that you can really look at. And you won't know how to create the solution until you know the problems. That's what I focus on. When I'm wearing red, I'm tapping to the root chakras, the cause, the foundation of the problem. And the foundation of the problem has been these legislations. If y'all ever heard of Public Works Administration, then you would know that in 1933, Franklin D. Roosevelt created this legislation. And he took away business and home loans from banks from the Black Americans. If you were Black, you couldn't get a business or a home loan, which white Americans got those business and home loans and profiting off of those same loans today. from generations. While we in the projects, we don't have a grocery store, we don't have a hospital, we have one high school, we're surrounded by 8 prisons. And this is Glenville, this is Downaway, this is St. Clair, this is Harvard. This is strategically, and it's the same as mainstream media pushing negativity on us versus positivity. Just like in Chicago, they making drill music. This is drill, kill, drive by. This is what they promoting. And all of these artists that make drill music got millions of dollars in resources to keep drilling. But then you got positive artists who barely get 10 views. So it's strategically, and we got to stop looking at, I'm not even paying attention to the Cleveland Remembers page. I'm paying attention to who allowing them to keep pushing this. And that's what it is. It's always like Jay-Z said a thing about we pay too much attention to crabs in the barrel, but we don't pay attention to who put the barrel there for the crabs to get in. Because crabs are never meant to pull each other down. But if you're put in this barrel, then you're going to pull each other down because that's the only way you got. So that's what I'm paying attention to, who put the barrel there versus the crabs inside the barrel. That's my thing.
I'm going to swing back because we're going to get ready to wrap it up with you. Back to these youth.
For sure.
You remember Teen Summit?
Yeah.
And you got the perfect platform. You got the right people on it. Maybe that's great. I think kick the parents out.
Kick the parents out for Teens Night.
Go and kick the parents out on Teens Night. Give the teens a safe place to come where they can come with only adult to be there will be you and a special guest. You may have you, and if that special guest, who it is, you bring it in and bring somebody youth. You're gonna have to give them the carrot. So you may have to say, hey, 10 or 15 of you guys, y'all come to 5 or 10 of these meetings. You get a chance to meet someone who's gonna be the keynote. So give them something to come. But I think if you created a really safe space where they can think they can go for a couple of hours and be able to talk about whatever and really express themselves, I think you'll get them kids in there. Now, is that going to be the ones that we think we really need to get in there? Probably not. But saving them is saving them. And therapy, as we say, is therapy. People need it in all kinds of ways. So you'll be helping. So anything I can do to help with that is sponsor or kick in some words to somebody. I'd love for you to do that. But yeah, something like Teen Summit, man, I think you got to just give it to them. Parents, you can't come in. Most of you guys try to be cool with your phones and not put it all out there to single out somebody who's really trying to share something that's private. Make it so that they can feel like this is really that. I would think. What you think, Jay?
I like that idea, Ken, but I would even add this. I like the fact that he does have the parents coming in on one, but maybe you throw a big event and you say no parents and more kids coming in, and then you can recruit them for that regular teen night, that regular once a month teen night. If you throw a big event and you say, hey, this time we're not letting the parents come, you get to fully express how you feel. And I think those events, them kids will be looking forward to that. And then you might recruit kids that never been there before.
That's those
new ideas.
These are all great ideas. And like I said, I got a quick question before I answer this. So can you guys name another free and open to the public therapy service that provides all forms of therapy every week?
You gotta finish. No.
Okay, easy question. So listen, so that's not a boastful thing. What I'm saying is that your ideas makes perfect sense because I'm just this guy who the first ever to create this, and I'm always winging it and always look forward to have ideas. And it's hard to get advice from anybody because I can't go to nobody that's done it before. So what I'm saying is those are great ideas, and I will utilize those ideas. So I appreciate that. That's what I'm trying to say. It'd be tough on me a lot of times. Be like, we need to do this, you need to do that. And I'll be like, hey, thank you. I'm gonna write it down, take it into consideration. But I never did this. Nobody else ever did this before.
So who's your team, Walt? And if you don't, you better start. You're gonna need one.
Yeah. So I done ran through about 3 different teams, and this is the thing, right? So success is really simple if you could just be consistent. So the Kenn Dowell show is only gonna be as successful if you're consistent, right?
That's correct.
And a lot of people can't be consistent. Now, this is every week for the last 3 years. That's what I said. And so many people has dropped off because of this weekly, and it's not their purpose and passion as it is mine. And I can't be mad about that. You know what I'm saying? I got to honor and respect that. But this is what I'm doing until it gets right. Now, mind you, I know I need a team. I'm very burnt out. I know I need a team, but I won't just settle for any team. Because this is a special mission. This is what God put on me, and I have to service this purpose. And I need people who align with what I want to do. I've created boundaries. It was because I would like to bring in friends, right? We all would like to bring in our friends and hire them and have them do things, but realistically, that's not what it's going to be. And that's what the mistake I have made in the past was bringing in friends, and now they feel entitled because they're watching it grow. It's, hey, I need this and I need that. And it's, hey man, you gotta come every week. First of all, you gotta do like the boundaries that I've created. Like you gotta respect and honor those. And if you can't, then respectfully, you can go. You know what I'm saying? And that's what it's been. It's been me trying to honor friends, bring them in and build their capacity for my mission and my dream. And that's been my mistake. So to say a team, I have someone who helps with marketing, like creating flyers. I have photography to come in. But when it comes to creating themes, when it comes to finding caterers, when it comes to finding therapists, when it comes to securing platforms, that's all me. I do all of that. I do all the promoting. I run 3 pages. I run 3 Instagram pages and 1 Facebook page. So I check all the emails. I build all these relationships with Cleveland Clinic, Tri-C, Environmental Health Watch, Burton Bell and Carr, which is our CDC. I built all these relationships based off of the work I've been doing over the last 10 years. And I'm burned out, but I won't settle for any team who can possibly sink my ship. You know what I'm saying?
You're not burned out. You still rolling.
I'm rolling.
You still ain't burning. You still there though. It burnt out means I'm done. I can't do it no. You still there, brother. You still very much alive. You might be a little tired and you might want some help, but you ain't burnt out because this is your vision. And the hard part, the reason why you're going through so many people is because it's your vision. People don't see the same thing that you see. So when they see what they see and they got what they want, or they got to a point where it's like, this ain't it, then they're going to break off or they're going to do something else. I go through that all the time, man. I've been in business a long time and I come up with projects and things and ideas. Every idea ain't a good idea, but somebody got to try it out to make sure it wasn't, right? And I have a lot of friends who've been on a lot of them with me, and then some of them got tired and some of them decided to do other things too. So that's how it happens, man. It happens. You get an opportunity with this, and hopefully there's somebody listening. Walter, he needs a retiree. A retiree who's did some good, who got a little administrative help, who want to come in and possibly work with him. And he'll talk about salary, stipends, and volunteering, all of that. But he needs somebody decent who can come in and help him with some administrative work so that he can do some of his stuff. And they can probably do it at home and vice versa. So talk to Walt. He's going to leave his contact information where y'all can do that. But that's what he's looking for, to help him get that going. We want him to keep doing ghetto therapy and doing what he's doing in our community. Got some questions for you, and we're going to end our program. These are my questions I ask all my guests before they leave. First question: if you could trade places with anybody and do whatever they do for a day, who would you pick?
Honestly, nobody.
Okay.
I wouldn't want to trade places with nobody. I love the purpose that God put on me, because again, this is a purpose that no one has ever fulfilled. I believe that what I'm doing is a one-of-one thing. It comes with its one-of-one problems. But I don't want to be in anybody else's position. I'm just really patient and can't wait to see where this lead me to and take me to. I think that'll be a question that you ask somebody years from now, and they'll probably say they'll rather pick me. They'll rather switch their lives to be me after they see what God has for me at the end of this road. So right now, I would say nobody, but it would have been like somebody like Tupac or something. But that's my favorite. That's my favorite guy of all time. But honestly, just being honest, I'm just happy with what I'm doing.
Yeah, that's great. That's a good thing. What's your guilty pleasure you want to share with us?
Guilty pleasure. Whoo.
Something you share with us.
Be transparent. I love being transparent. Man, sometimes I'm too transparent. But a guilty pleasure. Merlot.
What the heck is Merlot?
Wine.
Oh,
so all day I'm working. I'm doing all the hard work. I'm doing everything I need to do. I'm just being me. And then, about 8 or 9 o'clock at night, I go get me a glass or 2 of that Merlot, and I'm sitting back and I'm chilling. So yeah, Merlot.
Oh, that's you the first Merlot. Okay.
Yeah, it's bitter red wine.
Yeah, you the first one. Best compliment anyone ever gave you?
A lot of compliments at times. I was thinking of one that I got the most recently. I was asked, name 5 things to describe me. And as I was naming, I was saying like serious, purposeful, ambitious, consistent. And I couldn't think of a 5th one. And this one young lady sat in the crowd and she said, visionary. And it just resonated with me because that's what I really am. Like I had this vision, I had this idea, and I was flourishing. So I would say the best compliment I got recently was me being a visionary.
Something you wish you were better at?
parenting. I got 3 kids by 3 different women. I talk about this a lot. I don't know how much time we got. I won't get into it a lot, but I took this peer support class and it talked about using sex as a coping mechanism. And in impoverished communities, sex is often used as a coping mechanism like weed and liquor. And growing up in this environment where I seen a lot of shootouts, I seen my best friend get murdered. I seen the 11-year-old kid get murdered in front of me. I utilized sex as a coping mechanism versus smoking and drinking. So I had kids by women that I wasn't even in love with. So now I love all my kids and all my kids love me, and their mothers, they all respect me. But I wish I would have just had one kid's mother with my 3 kids. That way I can live in this household and be there day to day versus being a weekend parent. My daughter lived with me. She's 19. So she's been with me the last 4 or 5 years. But my 2 boys, they come over on the weekends, and I wish that I could have had them all in the same household, because as a single parent, you notice the difference of your teachings and their mother's teachings.
Oh, definitely.
So whatever you teach them when they come over for the weekend, it goes out the door those other 5 days, and they come back, and you got to push it back into them. So it's no knock to the mother, because they're all doing great jobs with my kids. But it's just, I wish I would have just had one kid's mother and not go too much into my lustful ways.
That's right. Where's a piece of advice you ever got?
The best piece of advice? Worse. Oh, man. Black men don't go to therapy. Why are you running the therapy service? Don't need therapy. What are you doing? Like, it's not going to work.
Really?
Yeah. And I was like, I'm doing it.
That's interesting, because I know you got that too.
A lot. I still get it.
You still get it.
Well, you know, I can't take advice from somebody who ain't doing nothing.
That's correct. That's totally correct. All right. My last one for you, my brother, is what you think about at night or whenever, when you're having a hard day, that you can always think about this and it makes you smile and you laugh. You're like, wow, that's some silly shit that happened. It could be anything. What is it?
Oh, let me see.
What's your go-to? So
you say, at the end of the night, I could be having a hard day, but I think about this one thing, and I just be like,
that you're gonna tell us that you're willing to share with us.
That's a good question. I can't say. That's a good question. I ain't never been stumped. On the question. One thing that I go to recently, I'll just go recently. Because there's a lot of them.
Yeah.
But man, I've been watching that Cat Williams interview.
So all you gotta do is just mention his name right about now.
I've seen it a couple times.
Wow.
Right? But one thing though, Dave Chappelle gave him the best response, because he gave Dave Chappelle a lot of respect in that interview. But Dave Chappelle said, man, you sat here and talked about everybody that's inside of the problem, but you never talked about one person that's causing the problem. So you never talked about any of the mainstream media, the people that's putting us out here to do this,
right? But
you only talked about us, and you never talked about those, the people that that's pushing us out here to do the work. So it's been that's been my go-to lately. Like, I've just been laughing at Cat Williams, man.
He done got a whole lot of stuff started. I don't think he had and if you ask him, he'll say, actually, I knew what I was doing, but he didn't have no idea the Pandora box he opened up. He opened that up, and it seemed like everybody just confessing on all kinds of stuff. Be like, what the heck you even saying this for, man? And it seems like this open session, you can say. So it might be a good time for this therapy, because everybody seems like they want to confess their soul about everything.
They said that's the year of the truth. And that was actually a great question, though, because it just really just not exposed, but it really just let me know that I haven't had any go-to, right? So everything that I've been doing, has been catching negative responses from close individuals because of the success that I'm having. Now, I won an NAACP award. I've won an Annisfield Wolf Memorial Award. I've won a Hidden Figures Award from the city of Cleveland. I've won like 10 awards in the last year or so that came with compensation. And I'm starting to enjoy my fruits of the labor. And I've been every place that I've been recently has been negative. Besides Ghetto Therapy, that's been my place of peace. But like in my work environment, even inside of my household, my relationship, whatever it's been like, hey, could you do this for me? Or they need something, or it's been tough. So when you ask that question, I'm like, what have I really? Nothing. Because ever since I've been obtaining success, it's been a little tough for me this year, in the last year.
So what do? You got a therapist?
So
what you do?
Thing. So so when I'm there, I can listen some, but I'm busy.
I know you can't be.
I'm opening the doors. Right. You know what I'm saying? So I haven't really got a chance to celebrate participate in those conversations, but I do have a therapy session with 3 of the therapists outside of there. So if Ghetto Therapy is every week, but I go to each one of those therapists once a month.
Okay.
Myself. So that's I connect with Shannon Yarbo, Reiki, Jacqueline Morris, the massage therapist, or whether it's Billy Gilliam. licensed therapists. So I do connect with them solo. But yeah, it's
self-care, brother.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
But it's,
starts with what they say when you're in a plane crash. First person you're supposed to save is yourself.
Yeah.
Can't save nobody if you can't save yourself.
I have a whole thing on self-care, man. Maybe we can come back sometime.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? But
open forum, brother.
Yeah.
This is it. Open forum.
Yeah.
I'm really into, and this year especially, I told you I got this African American Men's Action Network, and we're really trying to do what we can to get more African American brothers together, man. It's hard and it's going to be tough with all. It's going to take all of us. So this is a platform for you, man. Anytime you, month from now or so, you want to pop in and say, hey, I got something, or just want to drop in and say something, we'll use both of our platforms to get this message out, because I think it's one that should be done.
No, for sure. I appreciate that.
Oh man, we appreciate you coming on our program. So what I want you to do now, I'm gonna let you have this camera right here, and you get a chance to talk into that camera. Tell the audience anything that you want to tell them.
It was Walter Patton, the creator of Ghetto Therapy. Ghetto Therapy is every Wednesday from 6 to 8 p.m. The first 2 Wednesdays, the first Wednesday of the month is always men's night, and that's at the Cleveland Clinic location at Langston Hughes, 2390 East 79th and Quincy. Men's night every first Wednesday of the month is 2390 East 79th and Quincy, and that starts at 6 p.m. The second Wednesday is always teens night, and that's in the same location, 2390 East 79th and Quincy at 6 p.m. The third Wednesday is women's night, and that's located right across the street from here at 4600 and Euclid Avenue. The fourth Wednesday is Maisha night at Ghetto Therapy, and it's 4600 and Euclid Avenue. And all of these therapy services are free. You can come, bring anybody that you want, show up as you please, free food, free therapy services, 3 years straight. We only missed 3 weeks. Also, we have, what do we have coming up next? Next Wednesday is men's night. I would like for everybody to come out to men's night. Women are invited as well. So I would definitely love for you all to come on out to women's night. And you can find me at Ghetto Therapy 216, Ghetto Therapy 216 on Instagram. You can find me at Walter Patton, Walt Patton _ on Instagram, and Walter Patton on Facebook. And if I had anything to leave with you guys, any piece of advice, I want you to know that your environment plays the biggest role in your mental and physical health. Where you live determines how long you live. So always research your environment and create the solutions yourself. Don't allow or wait for a savior to come and create something that's going to save you when you can create it yourself. Only you can change your own environment. Your environment plays the biggest role in your physical and in your mental health, and only you can change it. Walter Patton, creator of Ghetto Therapy, NAACP Award winner.
Hey, everybody, that is Walt Patton, Ghetto Therapy. Man, please make sure you check it out. We'll have links in the description below where you can reach out and get all the information on how you can get in touch with them and where the Ghetto Therapy sessions are going to be taking place. Until next week, peace.